There are plenty of scary people in the fight game, but none as scary and volatile as Badr Hari. He's a 6'6", 250-pound world-class kickboxer who has won heavyweight titles in the best organizations in the world, including K1, It's Showtime, and the GFC Fight Series. Unlike other professional fighters, he's not opposed to using his skills on regular people. He's been arrested numerous times for violence-related crimes, some of which resulted in multi-month-long jail stints. Some of the most notorious incidents involve kicking people's teeth in at nightclubs and breaking people's arms in street fights. There are even court proceedings still taking place today relating to 2 assaults at nightclubs where Badr beat up a former business partner and a doorman. A woman was also injured, but it's unclear if she was directly beat up like the other 2.
Imagine having a run-in with this guy on a night out with the boys. This is the story of bad boy Badr Hari.
Badr Hari is of Moroccan descent but was born in Amsterdam, Holland in 1984. He started kickboxing at 7 years old and was a natural. After seeing how much money top kickboxers were making, he went all in and turned pro by 19. His kickboxing resume would go on to be extensive, but his legal rap sheet would too. Throughout his career, he would take multiple hiatuses from fighting to straighten out his personal life and legal troubles. To add to his enigmatic aura, he's even been heavily connected with steroid use. He was caught with steroids when police searched his house for evidence in an abuse case against a woman in Holland. But years after this incident, he would actually test positive for steroids in 2018, receiving a 19-month suspension. And to be clear, I'm not judging Hari for taking drugs. If fighting was how I fed my family and my opponents were all juicing, I'd probably take steroids as well. Look at Badr's physique during his first Alistair Overeem fight. Looks pretty average, right? After the fight, he said he was overpowered and that Overeem was just too strong.
Yeah, the fight was over before I knew, the guy was hitting hard, he was strong.
In other words, steroids likely made the difference in that fight. With Overeem clearly being on drugs, I can't really blame Badr for hopping on the sauce as well. Now look at his physique during the second fight against Overeem. All of a sudden his shoulders are massive and he's just a different animal. So now with a level playing field, Hari dominated Overeem. Okay, anyways, enough about drugs. A psychologist once said about Hari that his success as an athlete and his celebrity status, combined with a lack of personal guidance, resulted in narcissistic personality traits. Throughout his career, he almost always made fights personal with heavy trash talk leading up to the fights. We caught our first glimpse of this wild behavior during the lead up to his 2006 fight with Peter Graham in New Zealand. During the press conference, Badr attacked Graham verbally and the two had some back and forth. But after the press conference, Hari got in Graham's face and kissed him on the cheek and then swung on him. Graham tackled Hari and it was broken up. But the next night, Graham knocked Hari out with a spinning back heel, which should have humbled Hari. But this loss didn't change Hari's behavior at all, and he kept the verbal and physical abuses going with later opponents. The older generation didn't like his new kid on the block attitude of arrogance, so the fights often became personal. This created major hype around all of his fights, and he quickly became one of the most hated yet popular characters in kickboxing. In his 2019 rematch with rival and fellow Dutchman Rico Verhoeven, 53% of the live TV audience in Holland watched the fight. This is now known as the Floyd Mayweather effect. Whether you want him to win or lose, you're gonna tune in. The highs of his career include beating some of the most legendary kickboxers of all time, such as Alistair Overeem, Peter Aerts, Ray Sefo, Gokhan Saki, Semi Schilt, and more. The lows include kicking downed opponents on 2 separate occasions, resulting in disqualifications, trashing locker rooms, and assaulting helpless citizens in public. Badr admitted that during some of these moments he's consciously thought to himself, "Fuck it, this is fighting and shit happens, we all make mistakes," almost giving himself a free pass to act out. These incidents seriously put his career at risk, with promotions hesitant to give him more chances.
and after his second disqualification for kicking a downed opponent, he decided to return to Morocco to get away from the spotlight. He returned a year later to fight Gokhan Saki in what was supposed to be his last fight to say thank you to his fans. By the way, if you don't know who Gokhan Saki is, I put a link in the bio to the video I made about him. At the press conference for this fight, Badr treated Saki with respect and had appeared to be a more mature and level-headed version of himself. He won this fight by first round KO, proving he was still one of the best in the world, if not the best. He changed his mind and decided to keep fighting after this huge win and seemed happy with his new mindset and his outlook on life. But he admits he slowly began to enjoy fighting less and less around this time. Also at this time, his legal troubles resurfaced and things began to spiral out of control yet again. After winning 7 of his next 8 fights, he then went on a 5-fight winless streak, getting finished in 4 of those 5 fights. At this point, he was in his mid to late 30s and it was starting to look like he was past his prime. To this day, he's still technically an active fighter. But due to his legal issues and the coronavirus, he hasn't been able to compete consistently and has had to focus on his battles in the courtroom. He's actually scheduled to fight Arkadiusz Rozocek, definitely butchered that name, in March 2022 in Belgium at Glory 80. But which Badr will show up? Does he still have that fire burning in his stomach that made him the most feared man in kickboxing? Ultimately, Hari had a wild career full of incredible wins, disappointing losses, and unbelievable moments, both good and bad. He started as a young boy from a poor family dreaming of making money to give his family a better life. He accomplished this dream and then some. He's now finishing his career as one of the most controversial fighters ever, but also one of the most respected fighters ever, who at times was the clear-cut best kickboxer in the world. Despite the chaos he caused throughout his career, you can't deny the star power and the skill he possessed as a fighter. Very few fighters ever had the intensity that he had. He struck fear into his opponents on the level that Mike Tyson did, and his stare down made some of the toughest men on the planet crumble before the fight even started. But the story isn't done yet. We'll have to wait and see if this next fight actually happens after already being postponed once before. If it does take place, make sure you're watching.